Hopefully they listen to this and they feel ashamed.
I doubt it. They were drunk, so...
They won't remember.
Welcome to the Kdrama Show. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Kim.
We're here to unpack your all-time favorite Korean dramas and chat about all the reasons that we find these shows so charming.
And oh, so addictive. And we know you do too, so settle in with some ramen and a boba tea while we dive into the Kdrama Show with Ashley and Kim. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay.
That was perfect, too.
It was perfect. It sounded like the same snap.
I know.
All right. So here we are. We're doing episode 1 of the Kdrama Show with Ashley and Kim.
I'm so excited.
I'm very nervous, but also excited.
Is it more nervous because of having to hear yourself?
Well, I don't know, because I record a lot of music, so I hear myself a lot, but...
Yeah, talking's different.
That's like a pre-planned set of words. You say the same thing over and over again. So probably there's this deep fear that I'm going to sound like a crazy person. But that's okay, because you know that, and I know that, and here we are.
It means I'm crazy, too.
We're in good company. So, K-dramas.
K-dramas.
Should we start from the beginning? Okay, how did you first get into K-dramas?
You know, I didn't start with K-dramas. I started with Taiwanese dramas.
Taiwanese dramas. What was your first drama?
Oh, I'm pretty sure it was Touch Your Heart, I think. I was like this, of course, conglomerate guy,
Yes.
per usual, runs into this girl who's trying to do a broadcasting company, and he develops an obsession with her, becomes this different person, like alter ego.
Okay.
And then about halfway through, he like tells that character goodbye and becomes himself again. And it is very long.
Okay, it's very Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
It is, but like he's not trying to be like vindictive. He's just wanting to get close to her. But it's like, like 50 episodes. I don't know how I stuck through it. It was
That's the
brutal.
thing I've noticed about Chinese dramas is they're always like 3 times as long as
They are.
as like the Korean ones, which is why they're hard to get into sometimes.
Yes.
But
my first K-drama was like a year later, I think. Because I didn't like I dipped my toe in and it was like I would watch one here and there and be like, okay, this is super corny, this is really cheesy, but I'm also so invested. And
that's
then
how they get you, is with the cornies.
It's ridiculous. But then my first K-drama was like maybe a year later. Oh, that's been 5 years ago now, I think. No, it might even be longer than that.
Really?
But my first K-drama that I remember was called Descendants of the Sun. Oh man, I forgot his name now. But he is in the military. He's like our version of like Black Ops.
Ooh.
And then the female lead is a doctor.
Okay.
And they have a chance encounter and then like they just like are fascinated with one another.
Just entwined fates.
Yes.
That sort of
and in real life, the two actors ended up getting married, and they were called the Song couple.
That's so cute.
And it was adorable. They got divorced later, so that was really sad.
Oh, that's less cute.
That is less cute. But that was the first one that I remember, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, that's everybody's
cannonballed.
fan dream, though, is that the leads of their favorite show end up together in real life.
What was yours? How did you get introduced?
So, my first encounter with like Korean culture was K-pop, which I think is pretty common for a lot of Americans.
Yeah.
BTS had been around on the American side for a couple of years by that point, I think.
Okay.
Because they debuted in 2013, and
Yes.
then I think it was 2017 when I first started listening to them. So obviously you know V. I mean, you have a mug with his face on it.
I've got a
You
few.
have 2 mugs with his face all over it sitting on
love
a table.
him so much.
So you know who I'm talking about, but he was in a historical drama called Hwarang, and it was pitched to me.
Oh, I love
She's
it.
clutching her chest. It was pitched to me on like a YouTube ad, I think, and I happened to see that little snippet, and I was like, okay, I'll watch it. And then that one was a little bit it was an interesting start to K-dramas. It kind of like throws you into the deep end. There was no toe dipping.
No.
But I mean, I stuck with it. I finished the show. Park Hyung-sik is like, he's beautiful.
He's so cute. There's going to be a lot of fangirling.
Oh yeah, probably. We have to do Strong Woman Dobongsun at some point. Then from there, the second K-drama that I watched was still with Park Seo-joon, and it was What's Wrong with Secretary Kim, which is the perfect segue into what we're talking about today.
Yes, it is.
Would you like to kick us off with what we're going to be talking
Sure.
about?
So when we decided to podcast about it, because we talk about K-dramas with each other pretty much, that's, I would say, a good 50% of our conversation.
Yeah, that's our common denominator. Is
one of the biggest ones, definitely. And you recommended this show to me, actually. What's Wrong with Secretary Kim?
Did I? Was I the one
You
who
were the one who recommended it.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I was like, okay, I'll give this a try. And then I think I binged it in under a week. I mean,
yeah.
with job and life and everything. And I was like, what did you just do to me? Oh no.
Can of worms open.
When we decided to share our obsession with K-dramas, we were like, what do we want to start with?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe you asked me, well, what show do you want? And I was like, well, okay, here are two options that I think we both love, we've both watched. Mm-hmm. We would feel completely comfortable. What's Wrong with Secretary Kim was our first choice. And,
Yeah, I think it's a good one. It's a good beginner drama, I think.
I think so too.
It's a little bit quirky. There's some humor in it that I think you might have to acclimate to, but I think it's lighthearted enough and fun enough that people can like get behind K-drama watching.
Well, and especially since we've both been watching them for so long at this point.
It is interesting for this being like my first modern K-drama to have been watching K-dramas for like 6 years now and going back and watching it for like the first time through.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting the different things you pick up or don't find so weird maybe when you've gone in this deep with the K-drama watching. But do we want to do a brief synopsis of the show before we...
Yeah, go ahead.
'Kay.
You take that.
Okay.
You start it.
So I'm a notes nerd, and I typed out an overview because, you know, like I said, I like to know what I'm going to say before I say things.
I mean, I have a notebook. I don't have it typed out, but...
Well, I used the notebook, too, that you gave me. So
Mhm.
I have, like I said, notes nerd. But anyway.
I'm here for it.
So, Kim Mi-so has devoted 9 years of her life to Lee Young-jun, a self-centered chaebol that relies on her for every aspect of his life to function smoothly. When Secretary Kim suddenly announces her resignation, Lee Young-jun comes to the conclusion that the only explanation is that Mi-so's feelings have interfered with her ability to perform her job duties, when in reality Mi-so is longing to start living her own life in pursuit of her own goals, after years of prioritizing the needs of both her family and her boss. However, Mi-so starts to realize that her relationship was one of codependence, and she doesn't quite know what life would look like as anyone other than Secretary Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so episode 1.
Episode 1.
First impressions.
Oh, well, see, when I started it, again, you know, this is our rewatch. I just had to stop it so I could write down my own notes. So what I have is, we start off at a fancy party. Our main man is being described by others. He comes ignoring all, sits down, and then just asks, why did she do that? Why did Secretary Kim do that? Why is she like that? And I was like, you know what? What a great way to just start an episode.
Just jump right into the title sequence of What's Wrong with
Wrong with
Secretary Kim. I know, they don't make you guess.
No.
They don't make you guess it at all.
You don't get the chance because you're just like, wait, what happened?
So, no, we've talked about, I think, like last week I mentioned to you about like webtoons, and you haven't really
delved into that
delved
world
into
yet.
that side of the fandom yet. But like a lot of these K-dramas are actually based off of webtoons that they release like on a weekly basis. This opening very much felt like they frame for frame took the beginning episode of a webtoon and just like made it into a movie, which is kind of great if you're somebody who enjoys webtoons.
Right.
But I thought that was kind of a cool like harkening back to the origin material. So
First of all, can we just talk about our main man here? He is played by Park Seo-joon. I apologize in advance for all incorrect pronunciations. I am attempting to learn Korean. It is a very slow process.
we'll both apologize.
However, that man is beautiful.
He's very beautiful.
Like,
I think I counted like 4 shirtless scenes in the first
I was
3
not
episodes.
complaining at all. They're describing him and they're like, he's handsome and he's this, and I was like,
Agreed.
Keep going.
There's
Keep
no
going.
argument here from us. It makes you wonder what their workout regimen would be like.
I have no idea.
Nothing I could dedicate myself to.
No.
I can barely stop myself from eating chips every day.
I'm going to do a quick side note here. He is in the new movie, The Marvels.
He is?
He is. And I don't care for... Sorry, y'all. This is a total random...
Hot take.
But I'm not a big Captain Marvel fan. But because he is in it, I kinda
Does
wanna
he
watch the
speak
movie.
English or does
Yes.
he speak Korean?
English. And he's beautiful, and he's like a superhero.
Wow.
I'm sorry, y'all. We had to just bunny trail that, because...
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, let's talk a little bit about Young-jun. First impressions of him.
Well, when he's being described, they're just like, he has taken his company from here to here. So clearly he's insanely smart. And as you get farther into the episode, I mean, there's the scene of them having a business meeting, and
Right. He's correcting like complicated math in real time.
right, he's just looking at it and he's like, if it's this much, shouldn't it actually be like calculate to this? And they're all just like, yeah, okay.
You are correct.
And so he's clearly a genius.
I like that they established that he hasn't just ridden the coattails of his father into the position. He's actually capable and really smart, but also kind of scary.
And terrifying.
Because when he leaves the room, they all just like breathe this collective sigh of relief. And then they start to talk smack about him. And then, is it Yushik, his friend?
Yes.
Is like, oh, you're back. And they're all
Hi,
just
Vice
like,
Chairman.
oh no. And then he's just like, oh, just kidding.
Oh, sorry, not actually there.
I liked that moment because it shows that even though he's also kind of intimidated by him, he's super loyal and he's actually a friend to
Respects him and
Young-jun. Yeah.
yes. Yeah. My other favorite was we're gonna bring Kim Misu in as well. She's walking into his house and pulling out a tie and pulling out a suit and pulling out
And looking
the
like a
watch.
pixie and beautiful and perfect.
Yes.
It's not fair.
And she's gorgeous. And but then I just love when she's finishes with his tie and he goes, isn't it beautiful? And
Isn't it bright?
yes, and she's like, what? And he goes, my aura.
I literally have that note in my notes too.
And I think that's one of my favorite things about him is he's consistent in that he will not look at himself.
Yeah. And
he will-
he's super self-centered.
But honestly, I feel like we should start doing that. Oh, my aura.
The other interesting thing is they don't call him a womanizer because he's not. I mean, he might date and he might have girlfriends, but he's not treating them like a playboy, if that makes sense. He might not give them the time of day necessarily, but he's not just...
What can I get from you? And, oh, I like you so much. And
he kind of wears them as an accessory, if that makes sense.
well, and he doesn't like to be touched.
Yeah. Yep, they like to make that super obvious. But then the very first thing that Kim Miso does is fix his tie. So that you already see there's a completely different relationship there with those two, in that there's some level of like, I don't know if you want to use intimacy, maybe trust is the word, I don't know. But it's definitely completely different from all of these beautiful women that are around him, and he like won't even
Or even
hold
like
their
his
hand.
own family.
His relationship with his family is a little bit interesting. Maybe we can touch on that a little bit later.
Yes.
So Kim Miso, first impressions of her. You already kind of talked a little bit about. She basically puts him together in the morning.
Yes.
I don't know if we want to liken that to a wife or a mother, but it's somewhere in between.
But yeah, it's not even like a housekeeper or like a maid. It's like almost personal assistant level.
Yeah, maybe a little farther than that. Cause
Yeah. She's the only one that can touch his tie and fix it. And but then she knows him so well. One of the first business problems that you see is it's like a phone call. He's like, I don't want to answer it if it's going to ruin my morning.
Yeah.
And because he was like, incompetence is a sin. And you're like, okay, so you accept
Scary.
nothing, but then they deal with this guy who royally screwed up. Yeah, and she's like, why don't you go? She tells this other man, why don't you go home and rest? And he's like, okay. And his secretary goes, so is he coming back to work? And she just picks up the phone and she's like, get rid of all of his stuff.
She's cutthroat.
She
She is just as cutthroat
yes.
as Young-jun.
Definitely.
But she does it in a very indirect way, if that makes sense. Like, she knows how to handle people. And so I just thought that was kind of interesting how they come out of the gates like, oh yeah, she seems really sweet, but she's actually kind of scary too.
She will end you.
They are like a team, and they're both not afraid to just like pin you to the wall. Yeah, exactly. I do like though that she's kind of unfazed by him in the sense that she doesn't view him as anything that she desires in a man whatsoever. She basically thinks he's kind of a man-child.
Which she fuels herself.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. She holds his hand for everything and runs interference for him and everything. And he doesn't have to do anything for himself. Which, how do I hire somebody like that? I would love to have that.
You're taking applications?
Yes, I am.
Ooh, another thing that I noticed with their relationship, she's on the phone and she's speaking in English. And then he is like, your English has gotten really good. And she was like, thanks. You would yell at me and criticize me anytime I got it wrong. So it was a real inspiration. And he's like, well, if that's what works, I'll keep doing that.
Thanks for your kind encouragement. I like that they do show like how capable she is though to learn another language. And she doesn't just learn one,
it's
I
like
don't
two,
think.
right?
Maybe I'm thinking of the Young-jun though.
Oh yeah,
because he knows like 5.
Yeah, at the party. And he's Spanish. I think I counted it was like Spanish, French, German, English, and Japanese. I think.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
I mean, even if it's those few phrases,
right? To be able to hold a business conversation is pretty impressive, considering I've been trying to learn Korean for like 5 years, and I can say hello and goodbye.
That's about all I got to. They get to the car ride home, and he's asking her about the guys who were talking to her, and he's like, they were totally hitting on you. He's like, I didn't know you spoke Spanish. And she goes, oh, I don't. But when somebody, like hands me a drink, I just smile. If they're looking at you, I know they're complimenting you. So, this. If they look like they're trying to hit on me, I show them, the ring on my finger. And he's like, when did you get that? And she's like, you gave it to me for whatever reason. But then our big bombshell, and she's like, I need to tell you something.
Yeah.
And would you like to share that?
First of all, I just have to say that pickup culture is universal.
Oh, absolutely. Across the board.
You who have dabbled in bartending, I don't know if you've ever gone the engagement ring route, but I'm sure you know someone who has.
I wear it for a reason. Yeah. I had to deal with it 2 weeks ago, actually.
Oh my goodness.
And
hopefully they listen to this and they feel ashamed.
I doubt it. They were drunk, so...
They won't remember. So anyway, to get back to your point, Miso drops the bomb that she is done working for Young-jun, and it feels very much like a breakup.
Yes.
It feels
deeply
personal for him.
Bombshell moment is what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I will say, anytime that song plays where their relationship is developing a little bit, or you get to see that vulnerability between the two of them, that motif is like my favorite song in the entire series.
Yes, it is a good song.
Slow guitar, so pretty. Anyway, yeah, so
but she's gonna quit.
Completely rocks his world. He's just like, you're kidding.
Why would you do that?
Why would you do this to me? Why? This is clearly about me. So
Well, and that's when it cuts back to the very beginning, and he's just like, what happened?
Yeah. I'm clearly perfect. Why is she leaving me?
I don't understand.
At that point, does it cut back to the office?
Yes, because he goes and he talks to his friend that we mentioned with the business meeting, Yushik, and he's like...
trying to process it.
Yeah, unable to. Fun fact, Kim's computer was spazzing on us earlier, and that's literally what he was frozen. He was like,
Meltdown.
I don't know. When Yushik tells him everything comes in 3, 6, and 9s.
Oh,
every
that's
3
right.
years,
Yeah.
6 years, 9 years.
Yep.
There are problems.
And he uses his marriage as an example. Not just his marriage, his failed marriage.
His failed marriage, and then talks about the apple. If the apple has a bruise.
Yep, it'll contaminate all the other apples.
But you go for the bright, shiny apple.
I just think it's so hilarious how he goes to Yushik for all this advice, even though he can't, like,
he
can't do it for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he even acknowledges the fact that he can't do it for himself, yet he keeps going back to him because he has nobody else when it comes right down to it. That's, like, his only confidant, his only friend.
Well, and what's funny is a lot of the times Yushik is not wrong, and Young-jun is just like, no, that's not it.
And he's just clearly not the issue
like,
here.
okay, but you're not listening. Like, that's not the direction we're going. And he's like, oh no.
Because he's trying to incite some self-reflection, and Young-jun's just like, clearly, I am not the issue here.
No, it's not. No, I am not the problem.
Yep. Okay, so I don't know if you worked in an office at one point, and the way that they portray office culture is so accurate. Even if it is a caricature of it, it's super funny. Yes. Looking at the different roles that people play, there's the workplace gossip. He always has the down low, and he has to be the first person to tell you. But then, like, at the end of the day, no one really wants to spend time with him. You know what I mean?
You're just like, oh, I have
because
plans.
You know that your dirty laundry is going to be aired as soon as he hears it. And then there's the tryhard who lacks self-awareness, Sarah.
Oh my goodness.
She's so funny though. I love her.
She's hilarious.
She drove me nuts the first time I watched it. This time though, I'm just like, she's probably one of my favorite characters.
Great comedic relief.
Yes. And then there's the golden child, of course, which is Miso, because she's good at everything. And you want to hate her, but she's so sweet that you're like, okay.
You're that I hate you.
I wish I could hate you, but I can't.
Yes.
And then there's like just some of the normies that are just there to get their paycheck and they don't really care. But
I have to point out, because it's not an American culture very much. The one guy's like, I went to this university and I wrote these papers and I was great at this, and it's a huge thing from what K-dramas, what they portray of like your status of where you went to school, what you accomplished, even if it was 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Holds so much weight. And here, unless it's like Harvard, Yale.
Nobody cares.
Yeah. And even then, frankly. Unless that's like your field, like Harvard Law. Yeah.
Or Harvard Medical.
Right.
Yale Law.
Then it means something. Otherwise, here, it's really not.
We're a bunch of farmers.
Also, yes, where we are.
If you can't process a sugar beet, we don't care.
We don't care either.
Still don't care.
About processing sugar beets. But, so like that, I mean, that's even brought up in the office culture, huge, of like, well, I have this, and I have this, and come to me if you need any help, or, you know, you have your sunbae, which is your older, like your mentor or classmate, or went to the same school, whatever, and it's hube for the younger. Yep. And so that, I remember the first time watching a K-drama and it was like sunbae, and I was like, that's not their name.
Okay, cheese in the trap. I tried so hard to figure out who the heck Sonbae was and why everybody was Sonbae, and then they're like, oh, you realize that that's kind of like Oni or Oppa, things like that.
Luna.
Yeah, to show like a
respect,
different relationship. So then we cut to where Kim Mi-so is able to take like her own lunch and go handle some personal things. And the office has heard that she's quitting, and, you know, of course, because Gossip Guy is spreading that one around, and they're all like, it's not true, and Miso walks in, she's like, yes,
oh yes, I'm definitely quitting.
I'm peacing out, guys.
Okay, bye.
And so Sarah's like, obviously, I'm being primed to take over for you because you want someone beautiful, and everyone's just kind of like, yikes.
Oh, honey.
No self-awareness whatsoever. But I like how on her lunch, it shows her signing away money to pay off her debt. And instead of signing Kim Mi-so, she signs Kim Bi-so, which is Secretary Kim, instead of her name. And the banker's just like, is that actually your name? She goes, no. And that's just confirmation to her that she needs to get out of this job, because it is literally her entire life is her job, and the lines have been completely blurred between the personal and the business side, and she just doesn't know
who she is.
Yeah, exactly. And she's 29. I mean,
same,
we've
girl.
talked about turning 30. That's kind of a mile marker where you're just, if you don't feel like you've accomplished the goals that you had by then, you sort of feel schmucky about it. Yeah. But she hasn't even set goals, because she hasn't even had a chance to.
Right. She doesn't know what goals are. Other than
paying off her family's debt and
dealing with
being subservient to her boss.
right, dealing
at
with
all hours of the day.
and even there's, she has a lunch with her sisters afterwards, and they're like, okay, you're quitting. And she's like, yeah. And then Young-jun calls, and they're like, don't answer. And she just goes, yes, Vice Chairman. And just is automatically, oh, yep, back on. Like, she recognizes that she wants out, but at the same time, she cannot.
It's codependence.
Yes.
As much as he relies on her, she relies on him to give her direction in life.
And feel needed.
Yeah. She wants to feel needed. I think that's just a woman thing, but,
yeah. We're not even going to hide that fact.
We won't go that deep into it. Oh, the trip to his parents' house.
Yes.
We talk about that.
Yes. I love when they're walking in and he turns around and he goes, Kim Miso, I don't give second chances. However,
here's your second chance.
I will give you, I will buy you whatever house you want with my own money, and I will make sure you have no debts, and I will give you this, and I will give you this. And we're going to have
secretary, a promotion,
a
raise, all these things.
And he's like, and then I hope that we have a great working relationship. And he just takes off, and she's like,
stop.
No. And she doesn't even get the chance to say no because he's already walking, and his parents come up, and
they're so funny.
They're cute, too.
They are cute. Like, you don't see... At first you're thinking he must have
narcissistic for sure.
A terrible upbringing. And he has these sweet, just quirky parents. And the way that he's so sweet to his mom and then basically calls his dad ugly. And then his dad just sits there like,
in shock.
Why did I ever choose to have children if they're going to break my heart like this? It was
yes.
cute.
Well, I do also like that he brings up, they're having lunch and Miso's sitting next to him, and he looks at his parents and he's like, have you ever had a time of disconnection?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, and they're just like, what? And Miso's just sitting there, and she's just like,
Couples therapy.
Yeah, and because then his mom and dad look at each other and they're like, well, no, you have to have communication. And he was like, yeah, you do. And he just looks over, and she's just gonna continue to eat my food.
You've never felt more married than this moment.
Yes.
Well, and then she reaches over and fixes his tie too, and a lot of times I feel like in these dramas, the parents are like, you can't marry such a lowly person who came from no pedigree. You need to marry the daughter of another group who can basically create this empire for us.
Right.
But they're all just like, what about Kim Miso? What about Secretary Kim? What about her?
Right, but it's not even like saying that they want her. It's like, I want someone like her.
They're pretty much
but
saying that they want her to marry him.
But they do it so well where she's just like, no, I don't feel like you're wanting me to be the one to be with your son.
Really? I got the impression that she felt that way. Because she was like, he goes, was that uncomfortable? And she's like, yeah, it was pretty bad.
Well, yes. But I also think part of that was also him. You know. So it could have been a combination. I mean, you could be completely right, too, and it could just be me in my own fantasy world.
I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe she was just saying she wanted somebody like her. I think she just wants anybody at that point. Because she's convinced that he's never going to find love. She's so desperate. She's like, you can marry your secretary, and it would be completely fine with us.
We wouldn't be upset. Because, she asks him, is he a womanizer?
Yeah.
And then I love...
She can't say it.
She can't say it, and she's like, is he... Okay. She just comes out, she's like, is he gay? No, he's not gay.
And she's gotten that question a bajillion other times because she...
is the one that knows him best.
Yeah, everyone wants to know, like, what's his deal? Why isn't he married? He's a super eligible bachelor. And she's like, he's not a womanizer, and he's not gay. He's just busy.
Yes. Instead of saying what she really wants to say is he's narcissistic and nobody would be able to handle him. I barely do it.
Pity the woman who falls in his crosshairs.
Right.
Little does she know.
Well, then we get into, after she's turned him down for the second chance, is he goes back to Yusik and he's like still trying to figure out, why doesn't she just accept this? Like, why is she wanting to run? Like, I don't get it. He's trying to figure out what was the trigger. And he's thinking back to it, and he's, because Yusik's like, okay, well, what happened?
Right.
Like, leading up to this, what happened? And you get the flashback.
To the party.
And, I don't even remember her name.
the girlfriend.
Dating-ish.
The fake girlfriend,
right,
of.
for Tuesdays.
Yeah, the Tuesday girl.
The Tuesday girl.
Thursday one, the Tuesday girl.
And Miso helps him because, she's like, Oppa, do you notice anything different?
Yeah.
And Kim just kind of, or Miso just kind of goes back and just, brushes. Hey, she has a necklace on.
Yeah.
And said something about, she's like, oh, it's for my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, but what I really want is flowers.
Yep. And the look on her face when she realizes she's going to have to be the one to sprint across town in her heels and her beautiful dress to get flowers.
Well, and not only that, she has a massive allergy.
Yes.
To pollen.
She does.
And so then she's like tearing up and sneezing and
brings the flowers
she's
back.
just like trying not to die. And and then when you're holding in a sneeze anyway, that triggers
misery. The way he interprets.
Oh my gosh,
the watering of her eyes.
She has feelings for me.
She's clearly in love with me, and that's the whole
that's why
catalyst
she's quitting.
for this entire thing. This whole thing is because she's jealous that I've been seeing other women.
Because she's having dinner with her sisters again.
Yep.
And he calls her because she doesn't ever drink because she's always his...
Always on call.
Always his DD. Mm-hmm. But she's having dinner with her sisters. And big thing, especially for me, is she sees a spider and she starts freaking out.
I knew that would resonate with you.
I'm a massive arachnophobe.
Yeah.
Kim knows I've worked very hard to not be so terrified, but I have full-on panic attacks, like crying, hyperventilating. So when I forgot that it was in there, because there's 2 scenes where she sees a spider and she's just like, are you sure that nothing happened to me when I was a kid? Because she's terrified. Dun, dun, dun. She's terrified of spiders, and I was just like, oh honey, I am so with you.
You're like, you don't even need childhood trauma to be afraid of spiders.
Nope, they just exist, and that's plenty.
Yes, so, definitely not a proportionate reaction to just a spider chilling in the corner of the room for your everyday average person.
Who's not an extreme arachnophobe.
No judgment here, not passing any judgment.
No,
but
not at all.
most people see a spider and they're either like, I'm going to squish it, or I'm
need
just
to
going to navigate around it.
Or the weirdos that send it outside. Whatever. You do you.
Probably I'm one of those weirdos sometimes, depending on the day.
Judgment.
He's basically decided in his mind that he now needs to
convince her.
Start showing his appreciation for her. Mm-hmm. But also, he's trying to let her down easy.
Almost. Yeah. And he's like, okay, because she goes to go pick him up. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, I'll stop seeing whatever girl. Tuesday girl.
Yeah, I'll stop seeing Tuesday girl.
After he smacks her in the face with flowers.
Yep. He smacks her in the face with the flowers, and then she sneezes on him, and it's great. No. Oh, and then he sees her tearing up again, and he's just like, she's so touched by this.
She clearly is moved.
She's been moved to tears. She loves me so much. And I like, though, that it shows just how much attention he actually pays to her versus how every little aspect of his life she has memorized down to a T, and she's always
just
anticipating his needs. Like we see later with like the chair, the squeaky chair, things like that.
Yeah.
But he is completely clueless when it comes to her. Doesn't even realize that she has like this life-threatening allergy. She's going into anaphylaxis in the driver's seat. Right. Because he's waving flowers in her face.
Yeah. The next morning he goes into his office and it's her resignation letter. Of like it's not sinking in.
Sad guitar music that I love.
Sad guitar music. Going on what you were just saying of like he's not paying attention at all. Like she's like, no, like I need to figure myself out.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with you. It's about me.
Right. Yeah. And him going, well, what are you going to do? And she's just like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I want to do. And he's like, so then why are you leaving if you don't know what
He's totally projecting, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, clearly she has feelings for me. Well, no. You're the one who may be feeling a little something in your tummy when you see her. Hence,
and you just have
sad guitar music.
Yes, and you just are so oblivious. Yeah, he tells her, okay, fine, then you look for your replacement, and you have to train whoever it is that's coming in. I love that scene because it's hilarious, because she goes, okay, here's a list of questions I typed up for you so you can ask her, and she's sitting in on it, and he opens the folder thing, looks at it, closes it, and he goes, how do you feel about working for somebody who's 100% perfect. and Miso immediately fires back, do you think you can handle having to deal with someone who thinks that they're 100% perfect?
Yeah.
And they're just going back and forth with these questions of it's obvious to everyone else that they don't want to separate from each other. In I mean, maybe the work sense probably.
Yeah.
But then the poor girl.
Oh, she is so stuck in the middle of
She's just
whatever the heck they have going on.
Yeah, and he's like, I'll give you this, this, and this for money. And she's like, okay. And then Miso's like, well, yeah, but then you have to deal with this. And she's like, oh. And she's just like,
she's so cute,
She's
though.
adorable.
She's the sweetest little, like, pixie fairy that you've ever seen in your life. I felt so bad for her.
I know, she's just like, hey.
And then she's like, I promise to work hard. And he's like, you're hired.
And they're just like, I don't know. I always find it so funny because it's just a normal trope in K-dramas. The inability to communicate until episode 10.
Oh, jeez. I have to suspend so much disbelief in some of those situations. I'm like, no one is really that dumb, are they? No one's really that bad at communicating, are they? I would hope not.
I mean...
If I'm ever that bad, you can just, like, I don't know.
I'll throw banana milk at you.
Sure, that works.
Okay.
The way the episode ends.
Is my favorite because it just...
Butterflies.
It displays him as oblivious and unaware, but also just, like, codependent of... You know, it flashes back again to, like, the beginning of the episode where he's like, you know, she wants, I wrote it down, because she was told him why she wanted to quit, and he goes, one's own time, life, dating, marriage, and he's just like, why would you want those things? I don't get it. Like, you have me, and goes to her house, and goes, I, Lee Young-jun, will let you marry me.
What a way to start a relationship. Not even a confession. It's just like,
I'll
let you marry me. And she's
You're
like,
welcome.
I can't even stand to tie your tie anymore. Oh, good, but you'll let me marry you. And that concludes episode 1.
Oh, it's so good.
So good.
So happy.
Like what you're hearing? Go ahead and hit that follow button so that you don't miss out on any new episodes. Thanks for listening to the K-Drama Show with Ashley and Kim. We'll see you next time.